are just getting started, so just getting everything settled, letting other people pop in if they want. It is 3:02. Is that right? 3:02?
3:03.
3:03. I can't see. We're gonna wait probably till 3:04 before we get started. So grab some drinks, some snacks. Get comfy.
You're feeling peckish?
Get cozy. Weather, we know, is shitty outside.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
If you're in the path,
If you're in the
I hope
path,
you're someplace warm with your favorite snacks.
because the ATL is 42 or 43 degrees right now, not raining.
The microphone.
Oh shit. Oh fuck. I am just running my mouth. Okay. What's up? So hopefully y'all can hear me now. I know that before it was a little bit of a problem, but now we're on. Hey, Anthony, thanks for joining. We're going to wait just a moment, allow people to filter in as they wish. Somebody else joined too, that we missed. Does it say 3 people? Yeah. So somebody else joined that we missed. Hello. How are you doing?
Welcome.
Hey, Miss Hughes, how you doing? So we're getting ready to get started. We'll start now. What do you think?
Rock on.
Okay. So my name is OnyxRose. Thank you. This is OnyxRose, a journey through FFS. This is my podcast. Right here next to me is my co-host and cohort, EggieSalad.
Hello.
Okay, so today's topic of discussion for the podcast is simply Eggie's transition, EggieSalad's. So as I've told, or as I've said many times, if your partner transitions, um, by its very nature, you yourself, or the person whose partner is transitioned, the other person, if that person is going to stay in the relationship, is going to need to have a transition of their own. And whether that's mental, physical, emotional, it does have to be something. So that's what we're going to discuss today.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing I want to say, how did we say this was going to go? I don't remember.
You said you were going to start at the beginning.
Starting at the beginning. Okay. So the first thing I want to ask you, hey, Rich, how you doing? Thanks for joining. The first thing I want to ask you is, did you have any inkling of me being trans, anything like that? Let's say around 2006, 2007, anytime before.
So I didn't, but that's largely because I didn't have the vocabulary and language around it to really put to what I noticed. But from the beginning of our relationship, really the things that I noticed were the fact that OnyxRose has always been very, very in tune with feelings and connecting feelings with our behaviors, and really understanding how to kind of verbalize those kinds of emotions.
Thank you, Miss Hughes.
And it's like I noticed there were like feminine qualities about them, but not necessarily equating it as part of her gender necessarily. Just noticing little things that she would do in terms of noticing the things that I was wearing, commenting things that I would do and wear, more so than I noticed with other partners that I had been with in the past. And it's looking back now that I can verbalize it, now that I do have that language, it makes total sense. Those pieces kind of fit together. I think that's really the things that I noticed.
Okay. Let me just jump in here and say yes. The shit going on in Minnesota
Oh,
and Minneapolis is absolutely horrible, absolutely abhorrent. This administration is shit. And I don't agree with anything they're doing. Fuck ICE, fuck Trump. Um, Definitely fuck ICE. Fucking okay. So, but that's not the reason we're here. We're going to talk about gender politics and gender issues for about an hour. That will take, hopefully, not to take your minds off of what's going on in the world, because we don't want to obscure our minds. These are hard times. Fascism has taken hold of the United States. And make no mistake about it, fascism is here. It may not be in your neighborhood right now, but that does not mean it's not coming to your neighborhood. You may not have been snatched off the street right now, but that does not mean it's not going to happen to you. So everybody be ready. Boots on the ground, strategy, back room calling, setting up networks, whatever we can do. Brain work, physical work. I'm not one for, field work, but I guess if I have to, I will. Yeah, so we're gonna bring it back to transition. So we've got that part cleared. So tell me about Eggie Salad, how you found out that I was trans, or that I am trans.
oh boy.
Non-binary trans. Oh,
So the point where I found out, it was during a family therapy session. Um,
rehab.
and yeah, OnyxRose was in rehab, and they called us in to do this family therapy session together. And they sat us down in this big room, this big empty room with a whole bunch of chairs, and we sat towards the back. And I think it was almost the very first thing that the therapist said.
It was the very first thing they said.
Other than like, "Hi, how are you? I'm so and so."
I don't even remember their name.
I don't either, but not important.
Right.
But they said, "Let's talk about the." Did they use the term transsexual?
They did use the term transsexual
at the time,
yeah.
And let's talk about the transsexual thing. And of course, I was clueless. I had no idea. I was thoroughly confused. I had no clue why we were talking about or trying to talk about this versus the reason why she was here or there, I should say.
Right.
And I believe you had mentioned before that you hadn't even mentioned anything about.
So I did mention things in group chat, but not
Okay.
not to intake, not to my not my therapist, but my psychiatrist. It was in group chat that I mentioned it. I'm not really sure how the family therapist came about. I don't know.
Right. It was a very weird, nebulous confluence of events. But I just remember once those words came out of their mouth, I completely disconnected. I was so confused, and I don't remember anything that was talked about other than those words. That's all I remember. I think I was just so out of sorts and my mind was just reeling, trying to wrap my head around everything. And I had no idea what it really meant. I didn't know what transsexual really meant other than what you see in silly movies that portray things just horribly wrong.
Or Jerry Springer.
Oh yeah, Jerry Springer. Jeez.
Although who's on Jerry Springer? From Pose, Mother.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Love
yes.
that.
And she ate. She looked great. Yeah. Okay. Back to the
Anyway,
no.
definitely out of my element. Um, and like I said, I don't recall any other specific things said or mentioned during that session. Um, I just remember leaving feeling completely confused and feeling in some way like lost in a way, I guess.
That makes sense. I can understand that, especially, but like going back, you said you had something that you couldn't put a label to.
Mhm.
Um, I I'm kind of wondering, why, like, did you make the connection later between what you thought before this came out,
Mhm.
after you had some time to think about it? Did you make that connection?
Yeah, no, that came sometime later. I think it wasn't it wasn't until much later really that I made the connection because I didn't
Okay.
I blocked my brain so much after that initial discovery that I kind of refused to acknowledge. I went into denial mode.
Denial land.
And I almost kind of like just ejected the thought out of my mind and was like, we're not gonna touch that. We're gonna put this in this little box over here, and we're not touching that. And I tried to kind of keep moving forward without thinking about it or acknowledging it. We didn't talk about it. I don't remember really talking about it much after that. I remember wow, it's really hard to remember certain conversations. I know we had conversations, but
Well,
they were more or like surface level, very kind of skirting around things, or they were very confrontational. Um, I think. What do you remember? Because
I just remember at that point you not being ready to actually talk about it,
yeah, there's
and
that. Yeah,
that was the overwhelming feeling that I had, aside from the shock of being outed like that,
yeah.
I had the overwhelming feeling that, Eggie Salad was not ready to actually discuss it. It was
Mhm.
something that blew her mind so much, and it was just so inconceivable, and something that, she had never thought of and not put the attachment to
Mhm.
yet.
Right.
So it made it, this out of control, out of world, explosion. And so, rightfully afterwards, we had some rocky times. So that leads into the next part.
Oh boy.
So now this is the part where Eggie Salad gets to start telling her story. Um,
Oh.
and this is going to start off with, after, I was outed.
Mhm.
And after so, describe the process all the way up until the pub.
Oh, the pub. Uh,
Before the pub, though,
so before the pub, um, I I started out in denial. I didn't want to acknowledge the reality of OnyxRose being trans, and I kind of retreated into myself. I isolated myself.
sorry. Sorry.
I isolated myself quite a bit, not only from Onyx Rose, but from everybody, from myself even. I went on kind of like this autopilot mode, went to work, came home, made dinner, went to bed, rinse, repeat. And I kept doing that for as long as I could until I kind of hit this wall where I was so unhappy, so exhausted from masking for so long and trying to put up this front that everything's fine that I kind of just imploded. I approached OnyxRose and said, I think maybe we need to get divorced. I've been thinking about getting about divorce. And saying those words now, like, just dagger in the chest. I never thought I would ever say those words. I didn't want to be saying those words. But I didn't know how to move forward, and I didn't know how to acknowledge the reality of our new life and what that would look like. I did not do any research. I didn't look up anything. I didn't try. I didn't try. And I once I brought up the topic, OnyxRose, obviously disappointed. I was also disappointed, mostly in myself.
Disappointed, yeah. Disappointed, yeah.
But we continued on in terms of living in the same space, but being emotionally separated. This separation was, I'm trying to remember the timeline. It was like, what, a couple months?
It was 3 months. 3 months.
Okay. My sense of time is so warped.
Right.
In those 3 months, I explored the idea of what it would be like to live alone, what it would be like to actually live alone and forge a different life. And I didn't like it. I didn't, the thoughts that I would have would be, I would have one thought that I'd be happy about. I'd be like, well, if I were to be alone, this is what it could look like. But the concept of not having OnyxRose in my life was just next to impossible to erase. I couldn't imagine my future without her in it. It was very strange to grapple with. And that's when I made a decision to start trying, really, internally, to kind of discover more about what being transgender means, what that is like for those who are trans, those who are non-binary. And at that time, you hadn't labeled in that way, but still, now, the struggle that I had mainly to begin with was how we would be perceived, how I would be perceived in our relationship.
Yes, I remember this.
Yeah, I struggled with the idea of being thought of as a lesbian, and it wasn't anything negative about being lesbian. It's just it did not resonate with me. And so I struggled with being perceived that way, even though that's not my identity. And I had expressed this to OnyxRose, but before that, like, once we hit that 3-month mark and I had really kind of gone through this, like, evaluation.
All right, Miss Hughes, have a great day. Thanks for showing up.
I wanted to kind of open up a dialogue again with OnyxRose and try to kind of reconnect, because, I was unhappy alone. I know that there has to be a path forward. There has to be something. I'm not ready to just give up. And so we went to our local pub that was right down the street from where we lived at the time, and we talked, and we truly reconnected. It really felt like we were back in a way. And I acknowledged that I had some work to do and that
we both had work.
and that I wanted to keep trying. I needed to keep trying, and see if we can make this work. And it was a pretty pivotal moment. It's one of the big moments for us. And that was when divorce was off the table. Again, thank goodness.
Yay.
It is hot in here. Sheesh.
I told you it was hot. I mean, it's like 45
now
degrees
now I'm
outside.
toasty.
Yeah.
So I think that was one pivotal point up to the point where we got to the pub, and we made the choice that we were going to keep trying. Specifically me, I wanted to keep working towards strengthening our relationship.
Okay. So yeah. So that that's the whole 3 months. It was about, well, like 4 months, 3.5 months between being outed and going to the pub. So let's take it from, when did you start to understand that you were going to have to go through some mental, emotional, or some type of transition yourself?
So that would have been during that evaluation period before the pub. Like,
Okay.
just shortly before then, I was realizing that, while I understand I don't identify as lesbian, I don't know that I can grapple with the concept of being het.
Cishet. No, hetero, straight.
Being straight, because it doesn't fit in my brain. And we may cross paths again. I can't read the rest of it, but
Let's see. Oh my goodness. Let's see. I stopped. What's that? I stopped feeling for the murder in Minneapolis, struggling. Cesspool of what is thought of sanity. Uh, May we cross paths again? Indeed. Indeed. Thank you so much for showing up.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, definitely. The world is crazy right now, but we appreciate you showing up just to listen to us ramble. Okay, go ahead.
Where were we? We were talking. Oh, I know where we are. So as far as me recognizing that I was also on a transition path, is the fact that
Mish, what's up?
was the fact that I realized, well, I have some identity crises, if you want to call it that, to work through myself. I needed to understand better where OnyxRose was coming from, how she was feeling about her transition, but also really evaluating and doing research on my own to find myself again, to find how I fit in this relationship, how I fit within myself, what makes me me, what makes me me in this relationship.
Okay, I want to stop you there.
Okay.
Based on you thinking about me being trans, and at this time I came out, I was binary, so I was a binary trans woman. Um, n- so with that knowledge, how or what decision did you come to about yourself, in terms of, after doing this deep thought, and this mental gymnastics and all of this work, studying, getting information. What led you to your decision?
So, yes, the research, looking online to find queer spaces that resonated with me, and understanding what that meant for me. I would look at different Facebook groups. I would go to different websites. And I found two things that resonated with me. First of all was, at first it was just asexual. And then I discovered demisexual, which makes the most sense for me in terms of um, my sexuality as being demisexual. It takes an intense connection for me to want to feel intimate with someone. And that's not even just physically, that's also emotionally.
So let me stop you right there once again. So demisexuality is on demisexuality is on the ace spectrum. So that asexual people are in and of themselves queer. Because asexual identity is a queer identity. So I think that's something that if you don't understand, then you need to internalize. The asexual people just don't feel sexual attraction. That doesn't mean that they don't have sex. It doesn't mean that they don't like sex. What it means is they don't feel the attraction. They don't feel the need to have sex.
Yeah.
There are people who are sex repulsed. There are people who are sex positive. There are people like Egg who is demi, and that is great. So finding out you're dimming for yourself, how long did you keep that in? Or did you tell somebody? Did you make a Facebook post? Did you send some emails? So, first of all, let me tell you why I'm asking that. Because the way I came out, aside from being outed by my therapist, was to send letters, emails. I would send emails to my friends and letters to we took a letter to my parents.
Mhm.
But I lost all my friends with the exception of Mish Mish. So love you, Mish Mish. So with that in mind, uh, did you hear the question?
Yes.
Okay, so
So,
answer the question,
so,
please.
so
Hey, Mohammed.
I did not I did not hold on to my discovery of being demisexual or asexual um for very long. I think I really just sat with it for some days before I came out to OnyxRose. I I don't actually remember like how I actually said it. I just vaguely remember saying, I think I'm asexual. I feel like that fits for me. That makes sense to me. And then later on, once we like I had, and this was like a couple years later, even before I even thought about the demisexual side, because I am definitely not sex repulsed. Um, I don't have an issue with having physical intimacy. It takes a lot for me to get there in terms of having that emotional connection, having that feeling safe and confident in my bond with my person. So it's more that piece of the puzzle. So that's why I feel like demisexual fits me better.
Okay.
But the other piece of the puzzle that came a little, what was it, about, I don't even know if it was a full year later, was really understanding that I am pan-romantic is how I label it.
Okay, so let me stop you there again. Pan-romantic, pansexual, so not pans at all. Let's get the fucking ridiculousness out of the way. Um, Pansexual is someone who's attracted to all genders. Pan-romantic, same thing. So it can be all genders, trans, non-trans, like cis people. Um, it just encompasses all people. And panromantic is not the same as pansexual. Pansexual is so sexual and romantic are two different things. Sex is one, romance is another. So being panromantic, it does not necessarily include sex, the physical act of sex.
Mhm.
The It can,
Right.
but it doesn't
It's not
have to.
dependent on it.
Right, it's not dependent on it. Even so, I call myself pan, um, but you know, that doesn't mean it's sexual. Although I do say pansexual, I have no problem with that because I have attraction to all. And it's yeah, it is what it is. Okay, so let's continue on. This is your story. So where were we like the pan thing, um, pan romantic, we have the flag. Okay, so go ahead.
So what I want to say is by making these discoveries, by coming to the conclusion of my own personal identity and making that transition for myself of being demisexual and being panromantic, um, I as soon as I made those distinctions and I claimed those for myself, I
Sorry, I'm looking at my hair.
you're cracking me up. I no longer worried about perception. I didn't care if other people saw us as a lesbian couple. I didn't care anymore. It immediately completely just disappeared. Those fears, that anxiety around that just no longer existed.
So, like I in the beginning of transition, I don't know now. I don't know now, but in the beginning of transition, I was more worried that people saw us as, a straight couple, with me wearing just women's clothing. And that was not how it, like, for me, that's not how it was at all.
Right.
I'm trans, so it wasn't just like wearing women's clothing, it was my internal belief and internal makeup. So I, don't know where I was going with that, but okay. So let's go back to you. Yeah, my brain, ADHD.
Hey,
Yeah.
Kat.
Hey, Kat, what's up? Okay, so Wendy. Okay. So Eggie salad. Um, is there another route you'd like to go down? Like, is there something else? Like, coming through the years, we've been together for 23 years. Um, I was outed
4 years now.
it'll be 24 years. I was outed in 2012. Um, I came out and like I socially transitioned in 2015. Took my first hormones in 2016. So up until from 2012 to 2016, is there anything that kind of stands out? Like, okay, when I first started taking hormones, how did you feel then as the partner who
So at different points of Alex Rose's transition, or the medical transition, it was so with the hormones, it was for me, I felt actually more excited about that. I think I was intrigued about like what those physical changes would be, like what would we notice? Would it be big changes? Would they be small changes? Would they um and I knew I was excited for them to experience that. Um, and for me, it
hi Vince, how you doing?
um, I think the biggest jump for me between labeling myself and understanding my own queer identity was the point where you had your orchiectomy. And
2018.
yeah, because I also had to, at that point, I had to go through another transition within myself of grappling with the reality of not having kids. And that was a difficult one for me. I It's not that I always saw myself as having kids. That's not the case. When we first got together, I was very much, nope, not having kids. It's fine. Um, as the years went on, I started thinking about the idea of having a kid, more and more, and wanting to have that experience of being a mom, and but still having some doubts about whether that was the right choice for me, but also the right choice for us. So it was a struggle. We did try for a short period of time, and it did not work out. My body is not compatible, but
Neither is mine.
and so it my transition around not about not having that motherhood experience was also part of my transition. The the fact that our bodies kind of made that decision for us too um was hard to grapple with. But in the end, there are times where I get in my feels about it, and certain times of the year, Mother's Day, um, when it's like the holidays, or when little things just randomly trigger a memory around, my parents and what it was like being their child. Um, it's a little sad that we missed out on that experience of being parents. And even now, it still kind of gets me a little weepy eyed.
So, yeah.
No waterworks today.
No waterworks. I mean, we can have some waterworks. That's fine. Um,
I did my makeup today. I
I
don't know.
I got a little bit of concealer on, some blush. You know what I'm saying? So, but the whole child thing, the kid thing, I didn't bank sperm, and I didn't even think about it. To be completely honest, the reason I didn't think about it is because I was staunchly against kids, in terms of me having kids. And when me and Eggie Salad got together, we discussed it, and like she said, we were both against kids.
Mhm.
So fast forward to 2018. um, my fault. I did not talk to her beforehand. I scheduled the orchiectomy, and the process of scheduling the orchiectomy, talking to my therapist, scheduling the orchiectomy, getting the letters,
Mhm.
to actually having the surgery went pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I didn't think about baking sperm. We didn't talk about it.
Right.
So
It's funny because I didn't think about it beforehand. It's not that I wasn't aware that she was considering doing this surgery. I was aware the whole time, but I didn't confront the idea that that was a possibility until we were in the surgeon's office, and they broached the topic and said, did you want to bank any of your sperm? And immediately you were like, no.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were in the office. You were sitting on
Selective
the
memory.
table. I was sitting in the little chair next to you, and she said, "Do you want to bank your sperm?" And without even no hesitation, it was no. And I was definitely taken aback that there was not even a discussion around it. I was like, oh, okay.
Mm.
And I'm not going to force the topic because this is our body. That's part of who they are, and I don't get to dictate that,
But here's the
uh
thing, we should have
but we
discussed
should
that.
have talked about
Yeah,
it.
we should have definitely
uh
talked about it, because
we
if
could
I had known your side, your so strongly, then,
there would
maybe
have been more of a discussion around
there would have been more of a discussion. Now, later in years, after the orchiectomy, I'm like, well, kids would have been great, but so we are not rich people.
no.
We have debt. Right. We both have mental illness. We both have physical
Chronic
illness,
illness, yeah.
chronic illnesses. We both have had them passed down.
Mhm. Yep.
The concern for me, outside of just having a child, was bringing a child into this world, with and having them live in poverty, not having them have enough food, not being able to provide for them, having to worry about mental illness and chronic illness, physical illness.
Mhm.
um, Sounds a bit selfish, doesn't it? But I just wasn't in a place where I was thinking that I could handle that.
Well, you know, looking back, even now, even though I still get, caught up in the idea of this nebulous, non-existent child, I I also have this deep understanding and awareness that it really is the best decision for us. It's, you know, I enjoy our life that we have together. I enjoy our ability to be independent of dealing with raising a child. It's not to say that if we did have a child, that wouldn't also be fulfilling. It would, but this is all we're also fulfilled this way too. It can be fulfilling to live a life without having children. Um, and I think it's important to acknowledge that even even though we have enough love between the two of us, more than enough love to share to raise a child. That's not the only factor. And it's certainly not the only factor for us. It may not be that may be an only factor for some people, and that's perfectly fine. But for us, it wasn't the only factor.
There are a lot of people who do say, well, that is the only factor. We love each other and we're going to bring this child in the world because we love them.
And that's fine.
Well, but the problem to me is that, of course, you have this love, you bring this child in, but
Well,
how are you going to care for them?
you can't survive on love alone.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Like, let's
the
be
rea-
practical, people.
The reality is that you have to provide for your child and be there for them for the rest of your life.
And you have to expect
And
that. You can't be like, okay, you're 18, get the fuck out, or now you're 21, get the fuck out. That's that doesn't work.
it is a lifelong appointment, and it's something to be taken extremely seriously. And I firmly believe that even though that's a life that we could have had,
Yep.
it's not necessarily the life we need or want to have.
So let me interrupt you there. I think about it now, and especially within the last like 5 years, and I'm like, well, a kid would have been nice. We would have had really good looking kids.
They would have you.
But I think about it more now than I did in the past, and but it still doesn't discount the fact that we are broke, we have debt, we have mental illness, and I don't know if I would be able to overcome that, because when when I have a manic episode or a depressive episode, forget about it, I can't take care of anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And that's not fair to a child.
Right.
A child doesn't understand that necessarily.
Right. So that is one of the big things that blocked me. Like one of the huge things that blocked me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have schizophrenia in my family.
Yay!
Depression, anxiety. So
panic attacks.
Oh boy. And of course, heart disease and all this other stuff that
Crohn's.
And it's not to say others don't have these things and they still move forward. It's just not
Right,
something. It's
right.
just not something we felt reasonably good about overcoming and be like winning the genetic lottery.
Right.
We won in Vegas at the airport, but we're going to win the genetic lottery.
Yeah,
okay?
we did win in Vegas. We got married in Las Vegas. We won in the airport in Las Vegas. You can be each other. You can be their other two mommies.
There's more to that comment.
I was like, okay, let's see. What does that say? Oh my goodness, there is a lot more to this comment.
Can you tap on it?
I don't know.
Try tapping on it.
That's not working.
Or what's that little arrow?
Hold on, that'll shoot it down to the bottom. Oh my god.
Oh boy.
We've
got a novel cat.
Okay, can you do it, A? Because I shake.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, it's like right. No, down, down. There we
I
go.
just
Up, 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 up.
what?
That's the old one. Up. There
Oh,
we go. My son and his partner are at that place where it's time to discuss a baby for me, and for some reason they don't seem to think I should be a part. And really to
those
those
conversations.
conversations concerning giving me grandbabies, I mean kids for them, a grand puppy or grand kitty. At this point, so
I'd
I settle
settle
for
for
an aquarium, like okay, or a lizard or a turtle. That aside, your love together is really something. It's so beautiful. But you're right. Love isn't enough to raise a kid. Trust me, everything changes once you have kids. I tell you what, I have four beautiful kids. Ho, ho! Four beautiful kids. One's a doctor and the other's a physician assistant. I am happy to share mine with you. Slow down, too. You can be their other two mommies. Okay. Thank you. um,
No apologies
no
necessary.
apologies, Kat. Thank you for interacting. Um, yeah, like
Bonus mom.
yeah, like you yeah, bonus moms. Like you said, it's just that, our bestie Mish Mish, who is probably still on, I think she is, has children. And you know, she takes really good care of them. Um I don't know that like
But
putting
we also see all the prodigious amount of work that she puts in
the
to take care of these kids.
right,
I mean,
and like
it's beautiful to watch, but I can understand why parenting can be so overwhelmingly exhausting at times.
right, because
Just witnessing and hearing about the experiences that Mishmish has. I mean, it's just
it's a lot of work, especially for parents who have to go to work for 40 hours plus a week
mhm.
and then have to come home and take care of their kids,
And those who are only
and
parents.
those who are only parents.
I
Yeah.
mean,
It's a
it makes it
constant battle.
it's doubly more difficult.
Yeah, it's a constant battle. Only parents have to go to their children's school stuff and have to work. They have to balance work and play. It's rough. And so, I understood that for myself at an early age. I do feel bad for not discussing with Egg. And that's something that we'll continue to have discussions about. And I will continue to have discussions in my mind.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's.
But before we move on,
Oh, okay.
there's no resentment anymore. There's no anger or frustration around not having those conversations. I need you to know that and understand that this is a- ultimately it was the right decision. And I see that now. Then of course I was hurt and I was disappointed that I wasn't part of that conversation. And and but right now it was the right decision, and it's the best thing for us. Doesn't mean that I'm, like I said, I'm not going to have the feels from now and again, but for the most part, it's just there's not that anger or anything anymore.
Kat, you shouldn't beat yourself up too much. We do what we can in the time we have.
Yeah.
And then we always look back and see what we think we could have done better. But in that moment, it is what it is. And especially after the fact, you can't change it,
Right.
but you can improve on it.
And grow from it.
You can grow from it, and you can and continue to show love, and do the things that you thought you could have done better while you were younger.
Mhm.
Do them now.
Yeah, make those changes.
Yeah.
Make those active decisions to move forward with a new mindset and a new outlook.
Now, the other thing, and this is something that I thought about, that I've been thinking about, is adoption or fostering.
Mhm.
The problem with that, of course, is money. Like they make it expensive to adopt a kid, to foster a kid.
Oh, yeah.
For like people who are in the system, and not even for people who are in the system, but people who run the system, it seems like they would want to have these children, these older kids, teenagers, um, pulled out of the system and go to a loving family or a loving home. Now, of course, with that comes money, comes time, comes looking into your background, so on and so forth. And I've got a checkered background, like so my thought on that is, well, they take a look at my background and they're gonna be like, fuck no, so
Well, there's me too, so
yeah,
I can't blame you.
right. Oh, well, right, right. So, it's just
We
a
are
button.
perfectly imperfect peoples.
Yes, perfectly imperfect. So let's get back to you. So after the 2018 orchiectomy, then in 2019 I had bottom surgery.
Yes.
So tell
That
me
was a big
about
one.
tell me about bottom surgery from your point of view.
So, bottom surgery, I think in terms of all of the medical transition events, the bottom surgery and the FFS were the most frightening for me. And when I say frightening, I mean like the most visibly altering and the most impactful for them. And also for me by extension. But I also knew that it would mean a lot of like nurse egg time and a lot of
Nursing.
physical and emotional labor on my part. Um, and I am particularly fearful around surgeries, largely because of your first surgeries, I should say.
Oh, I forgot about those. I tend to
Um,
block them out.
I don't blame you. Um, that experience was really brutal for both of us. Um, I think I've grappled with a lot of like PTSD because of it.
I'm sure. I'm
So
sure. So first of
that
all,
that
let's
was super.
explain to them so they
Okay, we'll
know.
tell the story.
Yeah, because
So the first,
no.
so OnyxRose has Crohn's disease,
Yay.
and this was in 2007, right?
Yeah. Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Pembroke Pines, Florida. Oh,
South Florida, right in between Fort Lauderdale and Miami.
We had gone to Vegas on a vacation. We came back almost entirely broke, but that was the time that we won in the airport coming back home.
$1,050.
That's pretty incredible, by the way, because we really needed that money.
We had $50 left because I spent all the rest gambling. Yes.
Anyway.
Yay.
I think, but
Hi, VJ.
once, basically almost immediately upon returning to Pembroke Pines, OnyxRose had to go directly to the hospital.
And so did you.
And she was in a very intense Crohn's flare. And they checked her in and told us that they were going to have a small bowel resection. After obviously a battery of tests, but they took her to surgery. And I remember sitting outside the operating room doors. And at this particular hospital, it was kind of a strange setup compared to how most hospitals are set up now. But I distinctly remember sitting there waiting for the doctors to come out and tell me how the surgery went. And I hear this piercing scream.
Me.
And I knew instantly that it was OnyxRose, and I was terrified. I didn't understand. Oh my God, like this, like what's happening? And I went to the admission desk and I was like, what's going on? I hear my wife screaming. What is happening? And they were like, well, we'll find out for you. And so I'm pacing, waiting. And I found out eventually that they, one, neglected to push any pain meds before waking her up. So the scream was her waking up in agonizing pain. And I just can't even. And then the other piece was that we found out later was that they neglected to put in a drain that they told us they would put in. I think it was the following day after her surgery. We were in her room and she was complaining that her back was hurting. And I was like, well, maybe I can kind of help massage a little bit or something. And I was like, but I need to ask a nurse first because I don't feel comfortable doing that. I asked the nurse, they said, yes, as long as you're very gentle and you stay away from the sides and everything. I was like, okay, fine. So I gently slide my hand underneath her lower back and her skin is completely hot to the touch. And there's this, I've never experienced this tactile with someone's skin before, but it literally felt mushy and hot. It was such a strange experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's something wrong. This isn't right. I went out to the nurse's station again. I said, there's something wrong. I need somebody to check on my wife immediately. And before we could even get back to the room, she was coding. And a flood of nurses and doctors ran into the room. They made me wait outside, which, that's pretty standard. And while they worked on her, I called OnyxRose's dad, who is a doctor, and I told him what was going on. And he said, well, they're probably working on her. She's coding. So just give them space and let me know what happens. And I was like, okay. So they end up wheeling her back down to I think you had some scan or something first, and then they brought you right directly back to the OR for the another emergency small bowel resection. Because what they ended up finding was that because they didn't put a drain in, they didn't catch that she was internally bleeding.
Yay!
So and all that mushy hot skin on her lower back was that blood pooling. So they had to go in, clean her her body cavity, and then redo the resection again and make sure to put the it did get the pain meds in, yes, before then.
Yes,
they did finally get her
they
pain
finally got the pain meds in.
But they redid the resection, and after the second surgery, her health took a major decline. She ended up getting pneumonia. She was in intensive care for almost 2 weeks, I think.
Yep.
It was absolutely terrifying. I thought I didn't know if she was going to make it. I thought there were nights where they told me that, there's, very real possibility that she might not make it through this. And it was really, really difficult. There were definitely nights where I would, I remember your mom was in the room with you, and I said, I need to run to the bathroom. And she was like, oh, you can go in the bathroom here. And I was like, no, I'm going to go to the bathroom in the, down the hall. Because I knew I was about to have a complete meltdown.
Yep.
And so I ran to that bathroom and I sat on the floor and cried for probably about 45 minutes and just pray to anybody who would listen to me. Please save her. I can't do this without her. So yeah, that's why I'm very traumatized when she goes into surgery. But she did make it through. It was a struggle. It was very hard. And I mean, from my perspective, it's terrifying. I can only imagine what it was like for you, but
I've blocked a lot of it out. There's a lot I don't remember. And what I do remember was told to me, by Egg and my mom and my dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I guess that's a good thing.
right.
Your mind's protecting you. Mine doesn't do a great job.
Well, you were the one who had to actually work through it.
Well, sure.
I was the one,
you
in
were doped
intensive
up
care.
on things and
Right.
just doing your body's best to heal.
Right.
And thank goodness it did its job. But so since then, the surgeries have been really, really challenging emotionally for me. The bottom surgery and the FFS. The FFS was more nerve-wracking for me leading up to it. But and I think I had so many intense expectations around what the healing process would look like, especially that first week or two.
We expected the worst.
I didn't necessarily expect the worst. I just expected like this really intense, and it was, don't get me wrong, it was still intense, but it was it was a manageable intense.
Well, it wasn't a week or 2 weeks. It was like 72 hours. That was the most painful. And then it just got better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also with the FFS, it's different post-op because I'm every day I'm seeing the results. I'm seeing, and not just the physical facial results. I'm seeing the results in her attitude and her behaviors and her moods. It's really quite beautiful to see her blossoming in this way, and feeling, beautiful and confident. And
that's because I've gotten so many compliments. Y'all are like gassing me up and shit, but it feels good.
Do you see this nose? It's like the cutest
The
nose
is
on the
so
face of the
cute.
earth.
Yeah, the nose and the lips are
I
so
can't get
cute.
over it.
My surgeon, Dr. Wynn in Radiance Plastic Surgery, did a fucking amazing job. 12 and a half hours, but yeah, rock on, Dr. Wynn.
But bottom surgery wise, because I know that's the point that we were talking about.
Bottom surgery.
Bottom surgery was very intense for a number of reasons. One, because we had to travel and go.
Don't say where.
I'm not gonna. We had to travel out of state in order to get the surgery, and so having to go through the first initial intense healing parts of the surgery outside of your element and having to be in this hotel room it's really challenging. And it's
so basically, who's running? Okay, Kat, thanks for coming in. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Toodles. Yeah. So, bottom surgery, we can't say who it was or what city we were in, but the point is that me and Eggie had to go by ourselves.
Mhm.
We didn't have any help. She didn't have any help.
Mhm.
And that's the main thing to understand. She had her nurse Egg hat on,
Mhm.
and she didn't have anyone to help me. It was just her. So if a problem arose, she had to take care of it. She had to contact my surgeon's team.
Mhm.
She had to be the one to do all of it. And, as one person doing all of this for someone else who is like incapacitated, it's a lot of work. So it's stressful. It's, at times infuriating. It's at times like, fuck this. What am I doing?
Sometimes
Yeah.
just gross because
Yeah,
she
and
grows up
gross.
on you.
Yeah, I actually projectile
vomited on you.
projectile vomited on her.
No.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was delightful. One of my many wifely duties.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, there's the nurse egg hat. So let's talk about so first of all, okay, let's talk about after bottom surgery. Um, can you think of anything? We're gonna have to wrap up soon. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
after bottom surgery, can you think of anything that you want to say in terms of your transition, or like what are your thoughts now versus, let's say, 2012 versus like 2000 surgery time, 2016. Okay, your thoughts 2012 versus when I first started taking hormones, HRT, which was 2016, versus, let's say, today. What is not me, but what is your transition look like? Is it expanding? Has it sharpened? Do you have a needlepoint idea on your identity or your sexuality? Let us hear it.
I think the one thing that I am
BJ, she's awesome.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank
Aka
you.
awesome.
I think for me it almost feels like night and day. Sometimes I'll think about pre-transition and what our life was like then and what my life felt like then to me. And I don't think I realized then that it was possible to feel like this whole, you know? I didn't realize there were gaps or things missing within myself. I had no idea. And that's because I never examined it. I never had to examine it. I never had to examine my own gender that way. I never had to do those things. But through OnyxRose, understanding at least a little better, their perspective and what they've been going through in their own transition, that I really had to examine myself in a way that I had never considered before.
And this is what I mean by when I say if one person is transitioning and they're in a relationship, either the partner is going to leave or they're going to be forced to do the mental, emotional, and physical homework. There is going to be a transition.
Yeah.
You're either going to have to accept that you're not straight, you're not cis hetero, or you're not hetero. You're just not straight. And people, when they find themselves in this position, if they don't leave, then oftentimes they find and understand that, yes, this indeed is something that I understand about myself. Internally, I'm beginning to see that, these things in my life have, like ended up, have letting me have this identity, this sexuality. And I don't mean letting me, but have been showing my identity and sexuality for all this time. I just never had the language. I never had the courage. I never had the understanding of myself to do this. So the mental gymnastics, not gymnastics, but the mental work is there. And I'm proud of you for doing that. I know of a lot of people who've lost their partners.
Yeah.
I know of a lot of people who, a lot of trans people, a lot of trans women, who have wives, who have stayed, but, have not made life easy for their trans partners, and these are cis outward women. They never made their transition.
Right.
They never, or straight women, I'm sorry. They never made their transition. They never bothered to do the homework. They were just like, I can't accept this, but I'm going to stay with you.
Well, they also didn't do their internal homework either.
Right.
It's
Hey, Brandon.
hi. It's really unfortunate. I feel like a lot of partners are really missing out on a lot. And not just on their partner's behalf, but on their own behalf. I've always believed this, but I never really fully solidified the feeling in my own body that until um OnyxRose started going through their transition and I started going through mine, that our capacity for love is truly unlimited. It is unlimited, period. Um but you have to do the work. You have to really examine yourself um and your partnerships. um it's but it's true.
It is work. Yeah, it's work. And things don't come easily unless you know that you're queer and just hadn't let it out. That just, there are partners who instinctually, when their partner comes out and goes through transition, they understand and they're like, okay, so, what does this make me? And that begins the process of, understanding about what their makeup is. And yet, Brandon, love is a commitment. It's a commitment to each other. It's a commitment to staying together through thick and thin. And that, okay.
It's the commitment of actively choosing your person every
Every
single
single
day.
day. Every
Every
single
single
day.
day.
And, that is hard work.
Even on the tough days.
Even on the tough days, on the days where I fucking hate Egg, I still love her, but like we bitch. Like even before we got on live today, we were like, but little bit of bickering for a lot of love. It does, our relationship is proof that it can happen, and that couples can survive transition,
Mhm.
and can thrive after transition,
Mhm.
you know?
You both have to transition together.
But you both have to transition. Yeah. And you both have to transition together. It can't be like, well, it can be, but it's a lot more.
To really keep building on a partnership and a commitment to each other
There
and
we go.
choosing each other, you have to also go through a transition as a partner of someone who is trans. It's absolutely necessary if you want to have a fulfilling relationship. um yeah.
No, so that I think is Eggie Salad's side of the story. Really quickly,
Eggie Navarelli's final
Eggie Nagarelli's final word. If y'all don't know what that's from Greece too. Um, but so Eggie, let's wrap this up because it is yeah. So we're gonna wrap this up because it's like 4:15 right now. Shit.
Chat these ears off.
Yeah. So talk to me really quickly. I mean, not really quickly, but just wrap it up. For like people who may have come in late, your happened in the beginning, what happened in the middle, and what happened in the end.
Really?
Well, I mean, you can like, can't you? Okay, so then I will do it. In the beginning, Egg was not supportive at all. Once she was blindsided by the news,
Yes,
blindsided by a family therapist that outed me, said, let's talk about this transsexual shit. Egg's jaw hit the floor, rightfully so, because I was not ready to tell her, and I hadn't.
jaw meat floor,
Jaw meat floor.
brain meat, melty goo.
Right. So, I was outed and that sucked because I didn't get to choose my time and my way to tell her.
Yeah.
She gets pissed, understandably so, for 3 months almost, maybe a little bit longer. Divorce was on the table, not for me, but for her.
Mhm.
At a pub one night, we reconciled, got everything out. Then, years went by. Um, I started taking hormones. So when I started taking when did you start thinking about in terms of your queer identity?
Mm.
When did it solidify for you?
I think that really did solidify for me when you started HRT.
Okay.
I think that's when I really felt more comfortable in my own skin and understanding being demisexual, being panromantic, what that meant for me, and feeling really solid and um, seen with those identity markers for myself. I think I.
Okay. So, one of the things that EggieSalad's said is that, her struggle was being seen as a lesbian couple.
Mhm.
Her identity is not lesbian, but in the beginning, that was a really tough hurdle for her to get over.
Mhm.
So when she came into understanding her identity and sexuality, um, I think that stuff kind of cleared up. It
Yeah.
was no longer, well, fuck, people are going to look at me like a lesbian. It was more like, okay, I'm fully embracing my queer identity. And as such, I'm
I
going to embrace our relationship like this.
Right, and also I no longer cared about the perception of others when it came to how we were perceived in our relationship from other people. Um, because I was so solid in my own identity.
And that is what any trans person going or any person going through transition um wants. That is the most we can ask for. Because you hear the stories of partners leaving. You hear the stories of losing all your friends, all your family.
Mhm.
And well, but I didn't lose Aggie. She decided to stay. And I didn't lose Mishmish. So I appreciate that. But so now let's slide up to 2015 where you solidify, okay, HRT. So 2017 to 2024. What were you thinking then? Like as quickly as you can. Not as quickly as you can, but because we gotta get off.
Well, I think in those periods it was more like I had already confirmed my own identity and I was comfortable and confident in that. I didn't struggle with um the perception anymore. The only thing I struggled with was really her care. What that looked like for them. How how can I be the supportive partner, but also not losing myself in that as well. Um, and understanding that there's fear around these surgeries because of past trauma, but
Trauma.
also because there would be times where I'd feel like I would have this worry that I was going to somehow lose the person I fell in love with. There were feelings around that too. And so I worried that, like, what if they come out of this surgery and they feel so comfortable and confident in themselves and they look at me and they
Happy
say,
420.
I don't I don't think Eggie's my partner anymore. What if they decide this is not the relationship for me. I need to move on.
So
So I had those fears. I did.
let me break into that. That does happen. It happens more than you would think. Like especially with trans women, they come out, and it's not that for the most part, it's not that hormones or HRT changes their desire. It's that, like, coming out opens their perception. It allows them, or allows trans people, to open their minds and understand that, okay, there are other attractions,
Mhm.
and that's okay. As trans people, we are, and as people, we are taught that there is only one way, for the most part. And, opening our eyes to a new way,
Mhm.
for us is amazing. So, you summarized up till 2024. So 2025 and 2026. FFS, what do you think now?
Um, Now, like I said, FFS was the surgery or surgeries that I was
Surgeries!
most nervous about leading up to it. Um,
Are we glitching? Go ahead.
Dr. Wen really soothed a lot of those fears and anxieties for me with the consultations that he was so gracious to have with us to explain some of the processes um, and things. So that really helped calm my nerves a lot leading up to the surgery. It's not that they still weren't there. It's just that I I felt better about what the outcome might be. I was worried that you would look so different I wouldn't recognize you, you know? Like
Right?
I'd see you and be like, where's my froggy? I don't see my froggy.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do. That was such a the funny thing is that Dr. Wen had showed us some befores and afters of other patients. And once I saw those, that's what helped to calm my nerves around that part of my fear, that she would look so different I wouldn't recognize her. That because these people, they looked different. They looked feminine, but they still looked like them. Like it was very surreal, but it was very cool to see. And so by seeing those um other experiences, it was very calming for me. I felt much better after that consultation. Um and now, like, I mean, look at her. I mean, she looks great. She like, do you see this? Do you see this glowing smile? Do you see it? Do you see how happy they are? I this is what I would want for anybody, to be this happy,
Oh,
okay?
God.
To feel this good. Um I can't tell you the amount of just, like, joy by extension that I feel because I see them, like, really coming into their own, like, really seeing this vision of herself that she's always had in her mind kind of come to fruition in a really real way. It's one thing to go through, like, other procedures like a bottom surgery, and I'm not saying that that is not a huge step, it is.
It's a very big step.
But to like, I mean, you're talking about your face here, okay?
Right. It
And
could have been botched,
I mean, there's so many things that could happen that might not be what you envisioned, or that end up not healing quite right, or whatever, or just being botched, like OnyxRose said. There's a lot of, and it's visible. Like you can't really hide it very easily.
Right. There
Um,
are a lot of revisions in, facial feminization world.
sure.
Um, there are a lot of doctors who will fuck you up. And don't care because they will get high paying celebrity patients and things like that. So, they tend to, on the lower rung of the scale, not do as good a job. Um, Dr. Wen, who is not super popular in FFS, but give him like 5 years, and he's going to be up there with like the Dr. Bradleys and the Dr. Lays. He's going to be up there. Dr. Duchamp Braley. Yeah, he's going to be up there. Make no mistake about it. Once people find out, I think they're going to start coming to the A.
Dropping names like hot rocks.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, other FFS surgeons. But yeah, so wrap it up. Like, what? Yeah, wrap it up for yourself.
I think all I want to say at this point is my wife is hot.
Thank you.
That's all I gotta say.
But no, I want you to say something about your transition. What do you got to say?
I just feel whole and confident now. I don't feel the same fears, apprehensions, concerns about perception. The only things that I don't even, struggle isn't the right word, but the only things that I deal with that are things like people staring at OnyxRose, and I stare right back at them, honestly.
Thank you.
And then they notice me staring at them, and then they immediately avert their eyes. But things like that are the things that bother me now. But I can deal with that.
Okay, but like from your standpoint, your brain view, you are in a good place right now.
Yes.
You started out in a bad place. You
I've come a long way. I'm proud of myself.
You've come a long way. You've come a really long way from actually talking about divorce to being like, you know what, I'm queer as fuck. It's amazing what a little contemplation and being opened to others' experiences do for a person or does for a person. Right. Those people who would never think about, being queer or having to examine their gender or their sexuality, all of a sudden it's in their face, and it has to be done. The work has to be done. And, there's just no easy way around it.
And it is worth it.
And it is worth it. Yeah. Being queer is wonderful. And, to have a partner like EggieSalad who is queer, because, like being in a like straight slash queer relationship, it was not going to work. Obviously, I don't know how that works, but I do know a couple people.
It's possible.
It is possible. Like I said, I know a couple people.
Any configuration is possible.
Any configuration is possible, right? But I just don't know how a straight slash queer relationship works. And I guess I shouldn't say that. I don't know how a queer or specifically a trans slash cis het relationship works.
No.
Because what that means is the partner is either just really straight, or the partner wasn't willing to put in the work. And if you're not willing to put in the work to examine what your feelings are, then it's not doing the relationship any justice. What we've understood from EggieSalad is that she started off in a rough place. She went through the mental, physical, and emotional work to get herself where she is today. That itself is amazing. When you think about transition, you only think about the trans person. It's stories like eggs that need to be brought to light, because the people just don't think about it, and it has to happen. It actually has to. So thank you, EggieSalad.
Thank you, baby.
So we're going to sign off now. Thank you all for being patient and hanging out. It is 4:30. My name is OnyxRose. This is OnyxRose, A Journey Through FFS. My co-host is the lovely EggieSalad.
Thank you
And
for joining us.
thank you for
Listening
joining
to my
us.
story,
Yeah.
our story.
Our story, her story, his story, her story. History is her story. So okay. On that, we're going. A biento.
GTFN.
Oh shit.
Ta-ta for now.
There we go.